Okay, so tonight I will be talking about Tom Regan's article, The Case for Animal Rights. He starts his article stating, "I regard myself as an advocate of animal rights as part of the animal rights movement." So the animal rights movement is a movement that is committed to several goals, which include the total abolition of the use of animals in science, the total dissolution of commercial animal agriculture, and the total elimination of commercial and sport hunting and trapping. So right off the bat, he basically is saying that he is against the use of animals for just about everything. So he claims that what's fundamentally wrong with the way that animals are treated is the whole system. And this system allows us to view animals as our resources. So kind of here on this earth for us humans to be eaten, surgically manipulated, tested, exploited for sport or money. And he's claiming that once we accept the view that animals are here for us, then we stop worrying about their loneliness, pain, and death, and we basically violate their rights. So after this quick introduction, he continues his argument by defining and analyzing various animal rights views, and he basically finds flaws in each one of them, which included the indirect duty view, the cruelty kindness view, and Singer's utilitarianism. And in this video I'm not really going to go in depth on these because he goes very in depth on them. He was very passionate about how much he hated them. And so I'm actually going to skip to the last part of his article in which he presents his theory, which he calls the rights view. So how he starts discussing the rights view is he basically suggests that you and I and human beings, and he actually further includes animals into this, have inherent value. And he claims that we have to believe that all who have inherent value have it equally. So that's just a little like tag on, but keep that in mind for later. So basically he's saying that everyone who has inherent value has it equal and thus has an equal right to be treated with respect. And when he's claiming this inherent value, he's basically saying that we, which later he says we as living beings, have value as an individual which is independent of the usefulness to another. So like my value as an individual is independent of my usefulness to you. So the rights view in principle denies that we can justify good results by evil means that violate an individual's right. So earlier on in the article, like I said earlier, he discusses utilitarianism, which is basically saying that it doesn't really matter if you do an evil deed if you get good results. So what Regan is saying is that you can't do that. So if I violate your right, then it's morally wrong. It doesn't matter if it's going to get good results. And what he continues to talk about when he's talking about like who has inherent value, what a lot of people right off the bat assume is that only human beings have value, which is why they actually find it okay to violate an animal's rights and use them for lab testing or, I mean, you know, hunt them for sport or for money. And so what he claims is that any attempts to limit this scope to humans only can be shown to be, and I quote, rationally defective. So what he claims is that we are each of us the experiencing subjects of a life, and I'm quoting this, a conscious creature having an individual welfare that has importance to us, whatever our usefulness to others. So he's saying that if that's true for humans, which, I mean, we are, yes, a subject of life, we all have individual welfares, and my usefulness, you know, like, or my value has nothing to do with my usefulness to you. So he's saying if that's true for humans, then it has to be true for animals, which are also experiencing subjects of a life, conscious creatures having an individual welfare. So the welfares might not be the same, but for humans they're not the same either. So that shouldn't be a part of whether something has value or not. And so he says that since this is the same for animals, then they too must be viewed as experiencing subjects of life with inherent value of their own. So then he goes where some people will try to claim that animals don't have inherent value, which again he kind of debunks that claim very quickly. And he says that other people will claim that animals have some inherent value but less than humans, which he quickly debunks too. A lot of what he says is that if you claim that animals don't have inherent value or have less inherent value, he says that a lot of humans will rationalize this by saying that they don't have like intelligence or reason, like they don't have the capability to reason like humans do and they're not as smart as humans. But he claims that some humans, like children or say like the mentally disabled, they do not have like the same amount of intellect or reason as other human beings, yet they are viewed with the same amount of value as a human that does have the capacity to reason or who has like a great amount of intellect. So he's saying that if we don't, adjust the amount of value for humans that don't share the same amount of reason, then we can't do that with animals. And that's kind of how he talks around those two views. And so what he then finally claims is that inherent value then belongs equally to those who are experiencing subjects of a life. So he's basically saying that all things that are alive, or subjects to life, because he claims that objects that don't have a life, which I don't agree with this, because he includes rivers, trees, which do have life, rocks, or glaciers. He says we do not know and may never know. So he's basically saying that anything that isn't alive, even though it's part of nature, saying we're not sure if they have value. So I don't exactly agree with that, especially because he includes trees, which do have life. But anyway, moving on. So therefore, basically his animal rights view is saying that when it comes to animal rights, then is what we need to know is whether the animals that are routinely eaten, hunted, used in laboratories are like us in being subjects of life, which we do in fact know that they are subjects of life, therefore they have an inherent value. So that was basically a very long explanation of how animals have value just like us. So reason compels us to recognize that the equal inherent value of animals, just like us, they have an equal right to be treated with respect. And I mean, it's very clear to say that when we use them for sport, for money, for research, we are not treating them with respect and we're violating their rights. So at this point in his article, he's basically set out the broad outlines of the rights view, and he now expresses why its implications for farming, science, and sport are uncompromising. So he starts off with the case for the use of animals in science, and, well, actually, for every single view that for every single case that he discusses when it comes to farming, science, and sport, he takes an abolitionist view. So he's basically saying that we need to just completely get rid of it. So he says that on talking about animals in science, he says, lab animals are not our tasters. We are not their kings. So he's saying that we have no right to use them for our research, to use them for testing our makeup or our new drugs or something. Like, they're not here on this earth to do that for us. So we cannot use them like that. So because the animals are treated as if their value was reducible to their usefulness to others, they are routinely treated with lack of respect and their rights are routinely violated. So again, what he's saying, he basically says that our views of animals need to be transferable to our views to humans. So we can't justify killing a human being for the purpose of medical research, so we can't do that in the case of animals. And he concludes with the best we can do when it comes to using animals in science is not to use them. And again, he takes the same view for commercial animal agriculture and for hunting and trapping for commercial and sports purposes. So he's saying that there's a systematic fundamental wrong that allows these animals to be viewed and treated as lacking independent value. And basically what he's saying is, especially in the case for commercial animal agriculture, which, I'm sorry, I have shifted to commercial animal agriculture, saying that it was actually a law that was, I think it just got passed like last election in Massachusetts, that was talking about, you know, like animal agriculture and stuff. And so this kind of hit home for me, but he's saying that, like, it doesn't help to make the animals, like, the pens or the buildings that they're in, it doesn't help to make it more comfortable. Like, we have to actually get rid of it. So he's saying a little straw, more space, and a few more companions won't eliminate the fundamental wrong that attaches to our viewing and treating these animals as our resources. So he's saying that, yeah, it might make us feel better about ourselves to make the pen for the pigs and the cows a little bit bigger, or to make it, like, illegal to not feed them, or to feed them good things. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, the fact that we're using them, we're farming them just so that we can kill them and eat them, saying that's what's wrong, not their conditions that they're under. So he's saying that to right the wrong of our treatment of farm animals requires more than making rearing methods more humane, which I completely agree with. And again, similar to his views of animals in science, nothing less than the total dissolution of commercial animal agriculture will right the fundamental wrong. And like I said earlier, he's claiming that morality requires nothing less than the total elimination of hunting and trapping for commercial and sporting ends. I mean, he doesn't really go into that in detail, but I mean, you know, it's the same as for all the others. And I thought this was a good quote to end on, very powerful. It is our hearts, not just our heads, that call for an end to it all, that demand of us that we overcome, for them, the habits and forces behind their systematic oppression. The fate of animals is in our hands. So I think it goes without being said again that Regan, Tom Regan, wants humanity to view animals as having rights. We need to stop eating them. We need to stop using them for research. We need to stop hunting them, trapping them, you know, giving money for who catches the biggest fish type thing. And I completely agree with that. So that is the end of my debate blog.